Hip-Hop Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 12360, everyone. This would be take 4 of this intro. Yeah. So, this is take 4. And it's going to be a great show today because a little bit later on, we're going to be joined by the new IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion, Juice Robinson. Yes. Really looking forward to talking to him, you guys, because, I used to talk to him quite a bit when he was still with WWE and at NXT and everything. And, just remember him being very frustrated. And, I had an extensive conversation with him on his way out the door there. And we're going to talk a little bit about that conversation too when he comes on a little bit later. But this weekend we had the Cow Palace and New Japan Pro Wrestling show, and you were there, right, Denise?
Yeah, it was a big weekend in wrestling. There was tons going on, and even there was a lot more follow-up news afterwards. But I basically drove up to the G1 show, and it was pretty cool. Obviously, it was my first time at the Cow Palace, which, by the way, so I don't know if you guys recall, but when the Young Bucks were on, they did tell us that the original venue that they were probably going to be running All In was actually at the Cow Palace. Now, obviously, that was a bigger. The All In is going to be a bigger 10,000 people, as we know, and the New Japan show, which was like 6,000 to 7,000. I'm just gonna say this: I am so happy that the All In show is not gonna be at the Cow Palace, because being there, granted, the pros of this building is that anywhere you sit, you see perfectly fine, no matter where you sit. Because it's such a wide.
12,000.
Yeah, I think 12, 14, somewhere around there. I'm not sure, but. So the thing was about the Cow Palace was they were not ready for this amount of people to show up. I'm not kidding you when I tell you that we spent 40 minutes trying to get into the parking lot. There was, get this, I'm not even exaggerating, 3 people doing the parking, taking the parking money to get inside. Cash only. There was people running out of their cars to go run across the street to the liquor store just to get cash from the ATM. What? It was absolutely insane. 25 minutes prior to the show, there were still super long lines. From what I can see, the long lines from where I'm parking, I'm waiting to get inside to the parking structure.
Yes.
It wasn't necessarily the parking. It was just the fact that they only had 3 employees. Inside the show for the concession stands, I missed a match and a half, and a lot of people did too. They missed at least 30 minutes of the show if you wanted to get concessions, because they were absolutely long lines. The concession stand that I was in only had 2 employees. So
are you talking about to get drinks and
yes, to get
food and
drinks,
whatnot?
to get food? They weren't ready.
Did they have a better setup for their merchandise?
They did. They had at least 3 stands, which was a lot better, because in the past shows they've only had 1, maybe 2, and people, with the first show they spent hours.
Show, yeah.
Exactly. So with this one here, they didn't, and they had a normal line. Like if you were at a WWE show, it was a normal line for that.
So to me, that falls on the venue. If the merch was fine, that means New Japan had that covered. To me, that's the venue not looking at ticket sales, I guess, because how do you have no one working at parking and then not enough concessions? You have to look at your pre-sales and figure
All right.
it out.
Well, the thing is I'm pretty sure the Cow Palace doesn't get used for much these days.
Good point.
I'm not 100% sure what they're like. I guess we can look it up real quick, but I don't think that.
Yeah,
It might
they
have
do
been
like
at the last
rodeo
show
shows.
that they ran there.
No, they had one, I think, in between.
Okay.
But it was, All Pro runs there, and the first time that I was in that building, they put like 2,500, 3,000 people in there, and there weren't. I didn't hear about any issues like you're talking about, and maybe they just assumed it was going to be another one of those type of deals.
Yeah, it's funny because when I tweeted it out, I was getting responses from people where they were like, oh man, and people were obviously stressed out in the parking line. One of the things that I also wanted to mention too was that it probably took till like the 2nd or 3rd match, because I know you guys couldn't see this from TV, for the second portion of the Cow Palace to actually get full, because for the majority of it, for the opening match, there was hardly nobody on the top rope. The bottom floor was completely full though. Okay.
That was what I was going to ask you is the venue didn't look, it hadn't filled up yet, and that was the main reason?
I don't know what the main reason is. I'm going to assume it was a parking issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Sounds
afterwards it was completely full, which, and obviously because it didn't sell out, it was great because if you're at the top, you get to move around. So we actually moved seats and got some nice center seats. But I'm telling you, wherever you sat there, you could see, which was perfectly fine.
I watched, I didn't see every bit of the show. full disclosure, but I watched as much as I could, and so like I saw the opener, and I thought it was a really well done opener.
Agreed.
It was an ideal opener. They knew their spot on the card. Everyone got in there, shined a bit. You know, they had a really nice. I mean, it was nice. I liked it. It was nice and orderly, and it was easy for everyone to digest everything everyone did, even though there was 10 people involved, and that's not easy to do. Those 10 mans can turn into major. I'm trying to watch the F-bombs. Major cluster fracks.
There it
as
is.
they say at Battlestar Galactica.
I think it's becoming a fun routine too. The first faces you see now are always Rocky Romero, Roppongi 3K.
Yeah.
And at the last couple of major events, that's what happened. And sure enough, again this time around. And I think that's really cool. It's like if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, and so Rocky Romero, who was just here a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
Who actually, by the way, thank you, Rocky, for connecting me with Juice Robinson.
Awesome.
For today's show. But Rocky, you could take him and put him with these guys from Roppongi 3K, and they get to sit under that learning tree. Rocky knows what's up.
Yes, he does.
Yeah, he had some pretty good teachers. Anyways, so yeah, I really love how they're using Rocky right now.
Absolutely.
He was definitely one of the highlights of that match for sure.
Yeah.
He did a lot of really good stuff on that show. And one of the things that I also want to mention is that at the beginning with this match is one of the things you noticed was that crowd was actually very different from the first New Japan show in Long Beach, is that this crowd was definitely a lot more local versus the first shows that were flying.
Yes.
So you can tell because of how the crowd was reacting to the matches and to certain moves that, maybe to someone that has been watching for a longer time, either A, they wouldn't react or they would react versus the crowd where they didn't or did react to certain moves. So
did you feel like they were less educated?
yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Because, for example, the guys right next to me, they were like, oh, what's that guy's name again? NATO. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna look at you. But no, it was really cool though because they were really excited for the product. They were excited for all the big moves, and they were marking
Somebody
out.
didn't know Naito's name? They should burn in hell, right? I mean, what's the matter with people not knowing names of the big stars and the wrestling shows they go to see? Anyways.
But it was cool. It was cool, yeah. There was also a lot of other really good matches. For example, I really enjoyed the Bucks match with Sonata and Evil. I think that was the part of the show where the show really, after this, the show just kind of went really well. The Okada Ospreay match with Naito and Bushi was really cool because I kind of felt like they were having a different match all in one. So that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was. That's the one I watched the least of for some reason, and I don't know why. I'm not sure. So it's hard for me to comment on whether that match, what it was. I'll take your word for it.
No,
Denise.
yeah. Well, one of the matches that everyone is talking about is the Hiromu Takahashi versus Dragon Lee.
Yes.
Obviously, this was a really, really great match. Fun fact, Dragon Lee had actually wrestled 4 matches in the last 24 hours prior to this. So he's been really crazy.
He won King of the Indies, right?
Yeah. So basically, unfortunately, though, Hiromu Takahashi did get injured. As we all know, there's rumors that he broke his neck. We don't have anything confirmed as of yet. He is, talking, still able to talk and all of that. But they are saying that it happened during the Phoenix Plex spot where Dragon Lee's hand might have slipped, which if you guys saw, this was, it was pretty intense. But I don't know what your thoughts on it.
My thoughts on it are, look, people do things and we take chances, and this is a really dangerous industry. Yeah. That being said, there's no excuse for what happened in that. None whatsoever. That was bullshit. Sorry. And I'm a big fan of both of these guys. But, it's one thing when you take a risk with your own health like that and executing a move for the sake of a crowd reaction, but you don't do that with somebody else's health. It's our job. It's it's part of the code. It's that we protect our opponent at the expense of our own bodies, and I hope that I think that Takahashi will be okay eventually, because I've been there. I've actually one of my broken necks. Actually, both of them happened with the same kind of impact to the head, just like that. So I honestly, as soon as it happened, I figured he might have had a broken neck. And even as he was going and competing, because I finished both of my matches with a broken neck and had other matches after that. You could watch I lost the WCW tag belts with Scott Hall to the Steiner brothers, and the finish and part of the finish was me getting DDT'd off the top from the top rope up of Rick Steiner's shoulders. So we can come back from these things, and a broken neck doesn't necessarily mean like end of the world catastrophic shit.
It might not even mean surgery, because
Exactly.
you could just crack a vertebra that
Yes.
doesn't even cause nerve damage. So the words broken neck sound terrifying, and granted, it's awful this happened because they were just going crazy. But physical therapy perspective, surgical perspective, it doesn't always mean surgery. It could just mean you have to be you have to be stabilized for 6 weeks and let the bone heal. But
And like, okay, and saying all this, and I kind of maybe sound like I'm coming out hard on Dragon Lee. Now, yeah, but because he, but I think he's probably coming down hard on himself. I would imagine, and I just hope that's a lesson for everyone.
Yes.
Everyone on the card, everyone in the industry,
because that match had so much already.
Yeah.
They didn't have to. They didn't have to do all
and
that.
there's just no way that move was going to come off. It wasn't going. Like you could tell from the get-go that it wasn't going to work.
Just because he had him in that position, or that move in general should just get it out of the
The laws
books?
of physics
Yes.
Okay.
said that that's how he was going to land.
Gravity.
Yeah, I also kind of felt like, because from what I was seeing, obviously I couldn't tell, but it just overall, like the sequence, they were moving so fast. Then to get him in this position was, it's pretty intense to get yourself tucked in like that. Protect the head. You don't really need to land on your head to make a match great. To get a good pop from the crowd. Just don't land on your head. Protect yourself, and go on from there. And moving on, actually, the next match, which we're gonna have our guest later today, Juice Robinson, defeated Jay White, which actually got one of the biggest pops, if not the biggest pop of the night from the crowd. It was a great match. Both guys, Jay White has really come into this new character that he's doing now, and I think it's super cool. And then Juice Robinson, since the first time that he's been on, that I saw him live at the first Long Beach show, he has absolutely shined. And even when we had Stone Cold on the show, that was one of the names that he mentioned was, man, the Juice Robinson really impressed me. So both of these guys went out there, they had an awesome match. However, there's one moment that, unfortunately, Jim Ross was knocked out of his seat from the announcer's table, which is something that, obviously at the moment, a lot of people didn't know if this was a work or not, which obviously, if you can tell, I knew right away it wasn't, because I knew for a fact Jim Ross was not going to take a bump, just a random match.
Physically, Jim Ross is not at the point where
He's
bumps are.
66 years old. That was incredibly reckless and careless, and no excuse for it whatsoever.
Exactly.
Jim Ross had said that he had spoke to New Japan officials and said that he didn't want people fighting near his desk. So I don't know if this was kind of like the right hand doesn't tell the left hand sort of situation or what happened there. But unfortunately, it is believed that he suffered a broken rib, but it's
either broken or probably bruised. It sounds like. And then when you bruise a rib and you have rib stuff, the ribs are right next to the lungs, and then you have issues with lungs. And then it becomes incredibly hard to breathe.
Yeah, he had to cancel a couple personal appearances, and that's.
Well, I texted with him a little bit yesterday, and he didn't really say "Oh, I'm fine" or anything. He would just, thanking me for.
He's clearly not pleased, and who could blame him? That's.
Yeah, but okay. All that being said, and no one did anything on purpose.
Right.
It wasn't meant, none was meant by, it was a major distraction, the stuff with Josh, and I understand where Josh was coming from. Mm-hmm. I totally do. It risked taking, I don't know if I'm saying this right. It could have taken something away from the, but it didn't. It still, I got back into the match, and sometimes when something like that happens, especially the champ's running around, running scared from the frickin' color commentator, who happens to be one of the toughest guys in the world, but
Sure.
It's not a good look.
It was very strange.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder what was really supposed to happen. When Barnett got in the ring, and
He just got in the ring because he was pissed.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. But, so, once the match got going again, it was rocking and rolling, and I really enjoyed the finish. I really did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. And then obviously the last match after this was Omega and Cody Rhodes, with Omega retaining. This match went quite a while, 30, maybe 40 minutes around so. Yeah. And, I thought it was a good match. It wasn't necessarily my favorite out of the two that I've seen from them. I think their Ring of Honor match was a little bit better, but, it was good, and they had some really good spots in that match as well.
It was very good. It was actually excellent. It was, I thought it was a nice way to close the show, especially with all the brawl, the big
oh boy,
Bullet Club brawl or whatever you call that.
Something else.
Yeah, it was nicely done. So yeah, I really enjoyed the Cody and Omega, and I liked the different things they did, and I loved the story they told. And it's a good, they had what'd you say, 40 minutes?
Yeah, it was a
they
little
needed
while.
it too, because look, that Juice Robinson match being on right before that, could take some of the steam away from you if you go on after, a match like that with the big feel good moment, big title change, and so. And it did a little bit, I think. I mean, at least I don't know what you think, Denise. You were there, but they had to work to get the people in.
Yeah,
right?
I was a little tired. It did take a while. I was kind of like, oh man, I'm tired now.
Yeah.
I was looking forward to this match, but I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And then since it kind of dragged a little bit, at least for me, because I was there, I kind of felt like, oh man. So maybe that's why I personally thought that their last one was better, just because of how maybe exhausted I already felt.
That could play a part.
Yeah. So rewatching on TV, I guess.
I was very concerned when Cody crashed off that table, but apparently he's perfectly fine. So thank God for that.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Even Japanese tables in America, they still just don't break.
Yeah.
They just don't.
All right, you guys. We're gonna take a break now. I think that's pretty much everything for now. We're not gonna talk about anything else this week.
Fair enough.
We're gonna come back with Juice Robinson. Welcome back to X-Pac 12360, everyone. Joining us via Skype from his humble abode somewhere in south of Chicago, Illinois. He's the new IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion. I'm honored to have Juice Robinson join us. Yeah, man.
Introduction.
Hey, Juice. I think I've already told you this, but I'll tell it to you in front of everyone. I couldn't be happier for anyone in the business, any more happier than I am for you right now.
Oh, man, thanks. That means a lot coming from you.
Well, I mentioned in the text last night, it might have been this morning, that I vividly remember the conversation you and I had at Full Sail University. Right, I think you were on your way out the door. I think you had just gotten your release, right?
I think, or was it at Full Sail or was it at WrestleMania Access?
It might. Look, I just remember you were leaving, and we had a conversation, and you told me what your plans were, and a lot of people have plans. Juice, and a lot of people they have an idea what they want to do when they leave the WWE, and more often than not, those plans don't come to fruition, but they have for you. I'm very, very happy for you, man.
Dude, thanks. I mean, I think it was one of those things. I just had so much I wanted to prove, and I was frustrated with a lot of things. But looking back now, it was mostly, I was stuck, and it wasn't their fault. It wasn't my fault. It was just I was stuck, and I had to leave, and I was just fired up to get out there and just start kicking ass. So, landed on my feet. Fuck.
Yeah, here's the thing. When we're in the middle of that, and when we're going through that stuff, and we're not seeing eye to, or they're not seeing in you what you see in yourself. It's easy to take that personal because it's such a personal business, And
if you love wrestling the way I love wrestling, which of course we all do, or we wouldn't do it. 'Cause it's hard, and it sucks sometimes. You love it so much. If it's not working out the exact way you want, it hurts your heart,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah,
Hard.
I've been there, man. I've been the guy like there that I had to leave, you know, and go to WCW and prove myself, you know, and then come back. And so I've been that one that just, you know, wished that Vince would look at me the way I wanted him to, you know, and it hurt my feelings, man. I'm not gonna lie. I sound like a pussy, but you know. And I remember Vince telling me, "Oh, Sean, you know, this is business. Don't take it so personal." I said, "You take your business very personal, Vince, don't you?" I said, "This is my life," you know. So
it's all you got. It's all you got. You know?
Yeah.
By choice, but it's all you got.
So when you decided tell me where your mind was at when you decided, okay, I think I'm done here for now, and I want to go and you know, try my, you know, take a chance on myself out in the rest of the world.
Well, it was a gradual thing, and it started. I mean, right when I got there, I only had about a year or 2 years of. I wasn't on the indies very long.
Right.
I wasn't working. I didn't have a lot of experience, so I went to FCW with very little experience, and I was always kind of rubbed up to the guys that were like, you know, the Seth Rollins and the Dean Ambrose and the Claudios, because those guys were the guys I watched on the independents in my area, but I never became that before I somehow landed in FCW.
Yeah.
But they had went through all the stuff, so I would hear all their stories, you know, about all of them going all around the world, and then those people, you know, turned into the Pacs and the Finn Balors and the Kevin Steens and the El Genericos. They all came in, and they became like my best boys.
Yeah.
They would just tell me all the stories, and they would come in, they were so great right away. They were obviously put way ahead of me, and it just, you know, I started being like, damn it, I should have experienced all that. Why didn't I?
Yeah.
And then, you know, you're 25 and it's not working out, so I was like, oh, if I'm going to go try to learn all that and become like those guys, I better do it pretty quick. And, you know, they kind of gave me yeah, dude, that's a good way of looking at that. I think looking at it that way, there was no way that I could fail, because I wanted to be good just because I wanted to be good, you know?
So how did you end up there so quick anyways?
I did a tryout when I was 21, and I won them over in the tryout, and it was almost, I got knocked out in my tryout, and as I was coming to, all the trainers and like Steve Kern and Dr. Tom were above me, and I was like, I didn't know where I was, obviously, so I was just like, cover me. And Steve Kern said, well, that we're hiring that guy.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy we want. You know, I didn't know what was going on. I just knew, you know, when you're not loopy, you're just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Cover me. What's the next spot? You know, what's next?
I'm just curious. I'm just curious how you ended up with the tryout and thought about even going to developmental at such an early point in your career.
Okay, so before I even went, why I did the tryout was I wrestled Lenny Lane. Remember?
Oh yeah,
WCW?
Of course.
Yeah, Lenny and Lodi, right?
Yeah.
And I wrestled him, and I was really green and stuff, but he thought. At the time, they were hiring guys that were green. They didn't want guys with a lot of indie experience at this time. So he told me, before you get any bad habits, let's just try to get you in the system, because they're going to teach you the way they want you to wrestle. Anyways, that was the school of thought then.
Yeah.
Like 2010 and 11, you know. It was before they started signing all the independent guys. And he called Norman Smiley, and Norman Smiley said, hey, we're having a camp down here, and it's $1,000, but it's not, you know, it's not a gimmick. They're going to sign some guys out of it. So I did it just thinking like, okay, they're going to tell me like, I'll be able to take 4 or 5, 6 things that I could work on for the next 4 or 5 years. And you know what I mean? I'll be able to see what are they looking for? And then I can go try to apply that on, like, you know, the independent shows. Little did I know I got signs.
Wow.
Or I was going to get signed, you know, accidentally.
So you were like, you were willing to spend $1,000 to go in there and just get on the map with them and get some feedback. That's like the biggest thing you were looking for out of it, huh?
Yeah. I was just thinking like, I'd learn a couple things that just a couple things that they're looking for, like keeping your hands up, or how they like their baby faces to sell, or their heels to do this. You know what I mean? Just something I can work on it.
So and then, you know, FCW, and before it turned into NXT, you know, I came down there and I saw you there. You know, I saw you there in Tampa at that FCW, whatever they call it, the FCW arena.
Right.
And it's easy. It was easy to get lost in the shuffle around there at that point.
Oh, 100%. I'm just a regular 6'2", shitty or decently bodied white guy. You know, look like everybody else. And I was just, green 22-year-old, just like everybody else. They had 40 of me.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
Yeah, man. And but here's the thing about it, Juice. There's a lot of amazing talent that's doing really well right now that was lost in the shuffle at FCW and NXT.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm really. Do you remember our conversation, the one we had right before you left, and the things I said to you?
Not as. I just remember the feeling afterwards. It was definitely a positive, like, hey,
well, here's it. I just
got to do it.
I gave you some feedback on what I thought you needed to work on, and I don't necessarily need to go into all those things on here, but I'll tell you this: whether it was me that telling you that sunk in, or you heard it from other people, or you just already kind of inherently knew that's what you had to work on, you did it. I will just say this: your mean streak is a lot bigger now than it was in your time in WWE.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. I think I'm more confident now.
Way more. That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's easy. When you get lost in the shovel, it's easy to get consumed with self-doubt, and that's a killer, man. It just messes up our whole psyche, and and being able to leave there and build your self-confidence back up, and then I honestly believe, Juice, that you'll be back in WWE in a fantastic spot at some point if you choose to do so.
Yeah, people. I'm hearing that a lot now, and I don't know. I'm so happy right now, and things just seem like that they're just going to get better and better as far as with the company. And I think my position in the company, I don't know. I don't see the ceiling in New Japan, so I just want to go. I want to go until I hit that for sure. And if I never hit it, then I'm never leaving. If I hit it and I get stuck or something happened and I had to go somewhere else, I'd love to,
See,
go
I
back
think I think if you stayed the course in New Japan, I see an IWGP title reign in your future at some point.
Oh, gee. Oh, I just got goosebumps.
No, it's serious. I mean, you guys want to join in on this?
Absolutely. I mean, I'd love to ask you too. While we're talking about your transition to New Japan, you had to do that in incredibly humble fashion. You leave NXT on your own fruition, which NXT was really getting popular at the time. And it wasn't an easy transition. You went to New Japan. It's not like they said, hey, you're going on TV right away. Tell us about that transition. You went right in with a lot of other people who were they were brand new, and you just had to probably swallow a lot of humble pie. What was that experience like?
Well, when I was little, I would always, whether it was Jericho's book or just the stories you hear about Japan back in the, everybody knows about the infamous dojo and stuff.
Yeah.
And I figured if I was going to New Japan, I wanted to stay in the dojo. I mean, shit, that's a bucket list thing.
Yeah.
I want to live in the dojo, and I thought at the same time that the the Ligers and the Nagatas and the Kojimas of the world would probably appreciate it if I came in and did the whole system, went through the whole system. I'm not saying that I went through it the same way that a black trunk, shaved head Japanese white or young boy goes through it.
Yes.
It's a little difficult for them. They didn't kill me, but I also knew how to work a little. But yeah, I wanted to train with them, and I wanted to show everybody that I didn't come in thinking that NXT was anything other than what it was. Especially, I had no ego at all, at all. I wanted to pay my dues the right way.
So did you have some of the similar duties as the young boys in terms of cleaning and stuff like that?
Yeah, I cleaned. Oh yeah, I cleaned some toilets and swept some floors and hosed down the the driveway.
You
All
wash
that
any
kind of stuff.
back? Hey, you wash anybody's back, Juice?
I didn't. No, I didn't have to wash any backs.
So I assume then you didn't wash anybody's balls either, then, huh?
Oh no. We left that to David Finley. He.
Oh, he's the ball washer. He's the
Yeah,
ball
he's the
washer.
ball washer.
Oh wow.
You heard it here first.
I used to hear those stories, and I still don't know if anyone ever used to wash anybody's balls in the dojo.
Exactly. I've heard him too. I think
I think that's what you call an urban legend.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I would have drew the line in the sand there. I don't want to be that dude.
So when you go through the system like that, you're in, man. Like that's the thing with New Japan. When you do that, and as long as you don't get heat and are a complete douchebag, like you pretty much have a job there for life.
Yeah, man, they're so I mean, they care about their guys so much, and it's just very noble. That's just how Japanese people, I feel like they are as a whole. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So, Juice, what are the differences or similarities of training at the Performance Center versus the dojo?
Well, the dojo was more like bumping, and you have to remember there was a lot of like guys that were just really starting out to even take like backdrops and hip tosses. When I was at the Performance Center, it was more, I was in like one of the higher classes where obviously we already knew all that stuff, so we were kind of applying it.
Yes.
So in the dojo, it was more, for me, it was like I was just going through the drills, just the basic drills, stuff you could do in your sleep, but still get a workout out of it. The Performance Center, it turned more into like a mental, a lot of tape study, a lot of like studying psychology and, applying, the finer things of the business, I guess you would say. And then the dojo just kind of got back to the basics. I was like, drop down, leapfrog, hip toss, get it again over and over. And sweating
so Juice,
weeding people up.
Can you speak to the young boys when they have their matches on the cards? What they're restricted. They can only use certain moves. Like no fancy high spots. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, they when they start, everybody's black trunks, black boots, head shaved. They have no identity. They have like one loop music for all the. It's just the same generic bullcrap music. No entrance video. They have to get to the ring as fast as they can. And they can use like a body slam, a hip toss, a forearm,
drop kick,
Boston crab, a drop kick, maybe a back. I think they're allowed to use backdrops now, some of them, and they all have to use the exact same tools, because then, you actually get to. Then they have to actually learn how to get over the right way by like selling and fire and emotion, charisma, and so now they're actually. It's a real pure way of doing it, if you ask me. And as they get better, then they're allowed to throw in like a new move here or there if they can do it safely. And they kind of, before they go on excursion, they start to develop a little bit of a personality.
Yeah.
And then they get sent off to excursion once the office knows, okay, this guy we could do something with him. Then they graduate, then they come back with a gimmick, and then they're off to the races. But it's for the first 2 or 3 years, they got about 5 moves. They're just like everybody else, and it's kind of like let's see who gets over out of these 5 guys, or who figures out how to do it the best. I think it's awesome.
When you do it that way, you're building incredibly strong foundations.
Yeah, because they have to use the basics.
Yeah,
it's so cool, and it gives them little they have characters they don't even know it. Like they have a built-in character that's so easy. Like anytime that one of them everybody's knocked down, there's one young lion on the apron and he wants the tag, but the guy in the ring is like Ishii, but the kid on the apron just loses his mind, like, come on, I want to get in there. And the crowd's just going crazy, and it works every time, you tag him and the place goes crazy, and he loses 2 minutes later, but man, it's fun.
Yeah.
And
Speaking of the place going crazy, it seemed like the crowd at the Cow Palace really reacted when you hit Pulp Friction, and they counted the 3 for you, but Jay White kicked out. And then when you won with the roll-up, they were just in shock, and then they reacted.
Such a great finish, yeah.
Is that what you expected?
Well, I was hoping that if there was a roll up early and then he kicked out of my finish, then everybody would sit there being like, well, Juice is definitely going to lose now because he's got about 6 moves and a roll up, and he did all of them.
Yeah.
So it worked. I thought that was a good time for somebody to kick out of that.
Was that the first time anyone really kicked out of it?
And then
On a big
Kenny
match?
Kenny kicked out of it once too, but yeah,
didn't you beat Kenny?
yeah.
So it was before...
in a different match to set that match up.
Okay.
Since you and Jay White were at the dojo together, has this success motivated you?
Has his success motivated me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, 100%. Me and I like Jay. Jay likes me, but we're definitely rivals. I would say. I want to be on his heels or be ahead of him at all times. You know what I mean? It's a good healthy thing. You know.
Hey, so Juice, when did you guys have any matches prior to your Cal Palace match?
Other than tag matches to set it up or before. We had one singles match a few years ago as when we were both like young lions in some farm town in Japan somewhere.
So it's not like WWE where we have this pay-per-view match coming up next month, and so we're gonna have a half a dozen or a dozen warm-up matches on the road before we get to the pay-per-view.
Yeah, our version of that is a little just like 2 minutes in a tag, like maybe a high spot or two in a tag, just to set it up.
There were so many elements to that match. One of them being obviously the suplex into the barricade. When that happened, I mean that really created a huge stir. I mean, did you kind of look up and were you in shock at seeing what happened?
I didn't know what happened at first. I just heard the crowd, and I was like, well, I know that was a pretty, impactful bump, but it kind of grew. So then I looked around like, what the hell? What? And then I noticed that JR had fallen because he was getting up and he's like asking where his hat was. And by that time, Josh Barnett had stood up, and the crowd, I liked it at first because it added a lot of electricity to the crowd. And then when he passed the fence and got in the ring, I was just kind of like, oh my God! I don't know how this is gonna end.
It could have been.
I hope it ends pretty quick.
Yeah,
hope he has a mind change on the way there.
You guys did a really good job of carrying the match on after that, because that could have been that could have messed things up pretty bad. The distraction with that.
Yeah, if somebody would have said that was gonna happen, I would be like, oh, I hope no, I don't.
Right.
We can't. Yeah, that can't happen on paper. That sounds bad, but yeah, it kind of happened at a decent time.
Give you a chance to take a breather.
I mean, I was all right anyways. I was
all right.
But yeah, exactly. I don't know. It happened in a good time. I got slammed in the fence, and the next thing was he pulled out a chair. So
yeah,
it almost brought it to another level in a way. Now that once I watched it back and stuff.
Hey, so I noticed Jay likes to play a strong heel role in the match, especially in the match with you, the ball shots and all that.
Yeah,
that's a little you don't see that much in Japanese wrestling.
Yeah, I think it's awesome.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of heels anymore.
Exactly.
So if he can figure out how to make everybody in Japan not think he's cool and actually hate him, holy cow, everybody's gonna want to wrestle him, man, for sure. If he can get especially baby faces, there's a lot of cool heels. Even to Minoru Suzuki, he's a heel, but he's so damn tough and badass that the crowd likes him a little.
And plus,
even when he's beating the dog crap out of a young boy there.
Plus, when you've been around for 30 years, whether people book you as a heel or not, it's. That emotional equity is there, and it's hard to boo a guy like that,
Oh, the respect, yeah. There's so much damn respect for that guy, yeah.
Hey,
he's unhateable.
Not to keep talking about the incident with JR, but was there any did you guys or Jay or anyone talk to Josh or JR after the show?
Oh yeah, it was squashed. I thought it was squashed. after the show, and obviously it wasn't our intention to hurt JR,
Right.
you know. But I mean, I think he knew that, because why would we want to take the attention off the match?
Of course.
Yeah. And we don't want to. Nobody wants to hurt anybody, especially, you know, a 70-year-old guy like, you know, nobody wants to hurt anybody. But yeah, we apologize because, you know, it's just a bummer that it happened, and we're in the wrong at the end of the day. You know, I thought the guardrails were going to be locked because I asked if I went out there earlier in the day because I knew we would be, you know, I knew we were going to be hitting the fences pretty hard, so I wanted to make sure they were interlocked, and the guys on the floor at 4 p.m. told me they were going to be, so I thought it would be, you know, okay.
So, hey, do you have any opponents in mind, any challengers for the title?
Well, now that anybody who pins me in the G1 is going to have a, you know, a claim at a title shot for sure.
Are you gonna be defending it outside of the U.S.?
Not as of right now. I don't. We'll have to see after the G1. We'll probably have a pretty good. I'll have a pretty good idea of where the next match will be. So I wouldn't be surprised if it would be the next time we're in the U.S. So I think that's in September.
Is there
September 3rd?
Any chance? I'm sorry to keep cutting you off. Is there any chance of you defending it at All In your hometown in Chicago?
Oh, there's definitely no chance for that because I think I'm going to be in England during All In Chicago. So yeah, that won't happen.
Well, speaking of the G1, you're going to be going. You have a match against Kota, Naito, Kenny, Toru Yano. Who are some of the opponents that you're most looking forward to working with?
Definitely Ibushi and definitely Ishii because I haven't had any singles matches with them ever, and they're both awesome. So those are going to be fun. And then I'm always looking, you know, anytime you get to wrestle Kenny Omega, you know, of course I'm going to be excited for that. And then Naito, I kind of want to see, because last time I had a match with Naito was about a year and a half ago. So I kind of want to see the second go around it. I think it could be better. And I think I'm going to, you know, everybody's, I think, just more over. So it should be better.
Hey, when you first went over there, how was it like, you know, the communication, you know, with the guys you're in the ring with? How is that working for you?
I mean, I first had to learn to slow down when I'm talking. You know, after a match, and you're like, oh yeah, that was awesome, blah 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 blah. So first couple of weeks, I was fast talking a little with my English, but as far as making matches and communication with all of the guys that we work with over there on a daily basis, it's pretty damn good because they know wrestling English.
I was just going to say it's the wrestling English, right?
Yeah, they know wrestling English, and we know enough. You know, we know a few Japanese words. It's like this, not Spanglish because it's not Spanish, but it's like broken Japanese.
They know.
I don't know. You kind of figure out how every guy talks and how they understand and their level of English. So
Juice.
It's easier, but
they know wrestling English until you want to do something they don't want to do. Then they don't understand a goddamn word you're saying.
Oh my God, that's 100% right. They all of a sudden don't understand that.
Right?
I love when they do that, though. Yeah. I'd be kayfabe in my English too, man.
Oh Jesus! Hey, I was reading what you said. You know, post-title win, and you brought up Canyon Ceman and WWE and all that, and you know, I think it's just fine for you to unload and vent like that. I also think it would have just you going out there and being as successful as you are. And winning the IWGP United States title at the Cow Palace in front of all those people is a pretty good up yours by itself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're right. And I probably, you know, I'm kind of a hothead, I guess.
It's okay.
You're right. Nothing needed to be. That could have been communicated silently. You're totally right. That was enough of a I'm doing it. I didn't need to say it.
But at the same time, it's okay because it was coming from an authentic and 100% real place, man. And that's what people like about you, or love about you.
And that's all. That's the kind of wrestling I like. So that's what I got to try to be, just myself, I think. But it was more. It's also to the media too, because everybody constantly wants to talk to me about WWE, which is okay.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be like a fuck you, Canyon. I'm a star and I always was. I wanted it to be like, hey, I left and I remembered those damn words.
Yes.
And I'm doing my damnedest to try to do it. You know, it wasn't. I don't know. I didn't want it to be like, because I'm not mad at WWE. Man, everything I know about wrestling, the reason I am where I am now is a lot to do with it. Is those 4 years that I was in WWE.
Yeah.
If I wouldn't have failed in WWE, I wouldn't be where I was. Me failing in WWE has way less to do with WWE. It has to do with me. I was young.
I'm glad you said that.
I was 23. I was learning how to work.
Yeah.
So no, WWE's all cool in my book. I don't know. I was just going. I was just going and not thinking.
Yeah.
More feeling.
Yeah, no, and that's okay. I'm glad you said that part about a lot of it having to do with you, and because when people leave there, a lot of times all they do is blame it not working out on everyone but themselves. Right,
and you do feel that emotion, but when you look back on it a couple of years later, it was, you're in control of your own destiny at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You really are. If I would have been probably myself when I was there, I probably would have succeeded. But I had to not be myself and try to be something I wasn't to not succeed, to then learn that I have to be myself to succeed. So I know that sounds, but I think it really happens for me.
Makes total sense to me.
Well, a lot of people were raving about your promo skills prior to your match with Jay White. What was it like learning from Dusty Rhodes?
Oh, Dusty, he's the best. He just always, it's not what you say, it's how you say it and how it's about feeling. Promos are about feeling.
That's
first.
right.
So if you're feeling it when you're saying it, that's the only way you're going to be able to make people feel it. And there's, they still might not feel it, but the only chance you have them in people feeling you is if you're feeling it. So
Kevin Owens said you're the best promo in wrestling right now.
Oh, geez, I know that opened up a barrel of monkeys, huh? Man, everybody's telling that now. That's huge. Sometimes I forget how big of a reach those guys have. Holy cow.
Hey, but Juice, when you're cutting a promo like the one, where you're talking about your metacarpal and all that, and but it's a different feeling when you're cutting a promo in that environment, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, it
feels real. Like I'm talking about real shit. Like I'm not talking about,
Yeah, it's easy.
And it comes off real. Like I believed what you were saying. I believed the things that were coming out of your mouth, and I believed you were talking about real life shit, not some fake wrestling angle.
That's the kind of wrestling that I liked back when I was a kid. That's what it was like. It seemed like less scripts and more like people fired up and real emotion. And now sometimes it feels like it's canned. So I don't know. I just want to try to be real.
And
sometimes it's not there. Luckily, it was there.
You deserve an incredible amount of credit. You talked about how at such a young age you're at NXT, which is a golden goose for a lot of people. For you to be so self-aware to say, you know what, this isn't for me right now. I need to grow. And then to do what you did, just kudos to you, man, because not many people are that self-aware in their early 20s.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. I don't know. I felt that's how I felt. I'm not saying I'm this mature being. I have no idea. I wanted to be good at wrestling. I knew that. That's all.
That's awesome. So is there anybody in New Japan when you first got there that maybe you learned from, maybe took you under their wing?
Oh, definitely. On just every day teaching me everything is Rocky Romero, because I mean he's been going there for 15, 20 years. God, no, he just, the way of life in Japan. He's the best. But in a wrestling way, it's got to be Tanahashi and Makabe, those guys. Then, because we tagged, I've been tagging with them now for 3 years, and they're just great. They're just great baby faces, great company guys. They lead by example. But those three probably have influenced me the most.
Hey, have you witnessed like the booking process there and how it works in comparison to how it works in here in the States, like in WWE? I mean, I know you haven't been to like Impact or ROH, have you?
No.
So
I mean, I've done a match here or there for ROH, but no, nothing.
But Gato's the booker, and like he's doing an amazing job. And I'm just wondering how much input the talent has, in the angles and the storylines, however you want to put it.
Right. Okay. Well, I can only really speak on my stuff, and
Yeah.
I just know I don't really ever ask. I'm not one of those guys who's like, okay, what am I doing at Wrestle Kingdom 13? I need to know now,
Yeah.
2 years, in advance. I just take it as it comes. So every day, whatever. But he'll let me know like a month in advance if he needs me to start to set it up or like start to hint at a match in a tag match or set it. You know what I mean? Like setting up. If the
Sure.
angle needs to be set, he'll let me know then.
So you can plant a seed.
Yeah. So like I knew I was gonna wrestle Jay. I think maybe 2 months ago, but
Yeah.
I didn't know the finish. But I know my character. So.
But do you have input? Do you have creative input? In the things. Do they come to you and ask for your feedback into the stuff that you're going to be involved in?
Yeah, 100%, man. Gato's so cool. Like one night or right in the beginning, I said something like, "Hey, it might be cool if we did something where my hand maybe was broken or something to add maybe to the story of the match." And he said, "Oh," he didn't even think. He just said, "Yep, no problem, cool, whatever you guys want to do." And then he gives us ideas along the way, and he can fix usually our ideas. If we give him like an idea, he'll fine tune it and he'll like throw it through his governor and make it work.
That's one of the things Jericho actually mentioned when we had him on the show.
Yeah, he's there sitting there a lot, real quietly, like just kind of doing his beard like this, strumming and thinking, and he's quiet. And then he'll just be like, "Okay, what if?" And then it's your idea, but it's like your idea. If fine, like proofread, spell
Right.
checked, ran through spell checked. Spell check.
It's like running ideas with Yoda. He just has a wise way of
exactly. Yeah.
Well, we spoke of your transition, obviously transitioning into New Japan. But what I want to know is what made you go to New Japan instead of taking more of a traditional route in terms of going to the U.S. and to the Indies and stuff like that?
So that was all Giant Bernard, Prince Albert, Baldo.
Yeah.
Whatever you know him as. He became my friend down there before he even became a coach because he was coming down to kind of do like Florida house shows, like just little matches against Adam, whatever the
Adam
Hardy
Rose?
guy's name. Remember, just I don't know. Then he became a coach, but we were already friends. He was a commentator on NXT, and we would like talk about the CJ Parker like hippie character and stuff. Then he became a coach. He found out I was, I would always kind of tell him I was frustrated with the whole process or like where I was in NXT and stuff. And he said, "Well, if you ever quit, let me try to get something over there, get you a look for New Japan." And then when I finally did say, "Okay, enough is enough," that was WrestleMania 31, and luckily they were inducting Tatsumi Fujinami into the Hall of Fame, so the New Japan president and Tiger Hattori and a couple other higher up office guys were at Access. So they saw me when I was wrestling, and all Bernard said was, "Hey man, you should take this kid to Japan. He's a good kid, and he just quit here, and he loves wrestling, and he wants to, he's in it for the right reasons." And that was that. Then I came back through, and they said, "Hey man, you want to come to the dojo?" And hell yeah, I do. And I didn't know when, but I knew it was going to happen. And then I left the next day, and I went to England for a little while for a summer, and I worked on the camps with Brian Dixon. I don't know if you guys are familiar
Of course.
with Brian Dixon. Yeah, it's awesome. You just wrestle like at carnivals all over England in front of 8-year-old kids. So you just have like Looney Tune matches.
Just do the Gaga, right?
Greatest time. The best.
Yeah, just work the Gaga spots, the stuff
Exactly.
easy stuff. Yeah.
So just so much fun. And I did a couple indies, and then I moved in to the dojo at the end of the summer. So it was just perfect storm. It all worked out just perfect.
Hey, do you have a now that you're no longer in the dojo? Do you have a place like, or do you just stay at the hotels when you're in Japan, or do you have your own spot over there you stay at now?
Well, we just stay at the hotels. So if we're in Tokyo, we're at the Tokyo Dome Hotel, which is like right outside Korakuen.
Oh, you guys don't stay at the KO Plaza anymore?
No, that changed maybe a few years ago.
Oh,
probably.
wow. That's
Maybe
sad
10,
to me, man. That's sad to me. That was like home base.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's what
shit.
Rocky said. That one's a lot better, but I think about 10 years ago they switched it over. But it makes going to Corkin really easy, so
Sure.
I like it.
Yeah. Hey, how about
And
that?
then when we're on tour, we're just in all the little country town hotels like the rest of the boys.
Hey, so okay, all growing up, being a fan of wrestling, Japanese wrestling, learning about Japanese wrestling, you hear about Korakuen Hall. How was it the first time you stepped into that venue?
Oh my god, yeah, it was awesome. It was like you don't even. It's like a blur almost.
Yeah.
It felt like I was on another planet.
But it's small, right? Like it's like at one point that was the like capital of wrestling in the entire world. Like there
I
was
know.
more shows in that building than any other building in the world in wrestling. And
I know.
it's so tiny. Like it barely fits 2,000 people. And
It doesn't, but yeah, it fits 1,800 people.
Yeah.
With standing room only, but it's shaped in a way. I don't know. It's just it gets hot, It's good.
Oh, yeah.
There's good energy, real good energy. If you get 1,800 people, if 1,800 people into it in a small building is great.
Oh yeah, no, it's it's an amazing building. I
Yeah.
just was like blown away by it, kind of like in the same way the first time I went to the Sportatorium in Dallas.
Wow.
Oh,
And
I'm
it's
jealous of that. That
Yeah.
sounds bad.
so you
Arena
guys.
Mexico was pretty cool too.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
a cool one because you always
was-
hear about that one. But yeah, Corkin is I love that place.
Hey, how was your experience in Mexico?
Oh, it was fun. I
Yeah?
mean, it was really fun. I didn't do anything really besides punch and kick. And I was a heel. Even though I was a babyface in Japan, I was a heel in Mexico because,
Was it easy?
yeah, it was so easy. They just chanted, gringo puto at me. And I acted like it was like applause. So I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, basking in it, And then they got the minis that are in like little fur suits, and you slam one of those and get up on the top turnbuckle. You're good. You're set.
Yeah, if you wanna get,
a
like-
comeback.
Like one version of cheap heat there is to grab the mini and just like chuck them into the crowd into like the fifth row or something.
Or just give him a big body slam,
Yeah.
hillbilly Jim style.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know who do you have? King Kong Bundy when he slammed whatever his name was, Little Beaver. or
Little
whatever?
Beaver, and he dropped the elbow on
Yeah.
him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So prior to going to Japan, did you already have knowledge of the product or Japanese wrestling in general? Because it seemed like you went.
No, I didn't. I in fact when Matt Bloom first told me, like, have you ever thought about wrestling in Japan? I remember laughing in his face, like, ha, me in Japan? Yeah, right. Because I just imagined everything was going to be Suzuki Nagata style, I didn't realize that there's Tanahashis and Taguchis, and there's comedy and like baby faces and heels and American style and all kinds of styles. It's the same, But yeah, I never thought I would be there. Yeah.
Yeah, you
And
think
then
there's
Corey
any?
Graves was staying at my house, and he brought Wrestle Kingdom 9,
Yeah.
and that was the first whole Then I started watching Then I started, I sunk into it and started watching a bunch of Tanahashi and Nakamura matches, and AJ and Ibushi and Kenny, and I started to get into it more. But so about a year before I went, I probably started really getting into it.
Do you think there are any misconceptions that people have about the Japanese style or say, New Japan style in general?
I think that they think that every single match is this hard-hitting, because I think the American audience only sees the real big matches.
Right.
So I think everything is just like just super, super, super stiff. And then I think that's what the indies have now turned into. Like, they're all trying to be like big match, big match New Japan style.
Yes.
Super strong. But on the farm towns and all our house shows and stuff, yeah, we lay it in, but it's not the same as the Cow Palace. So it's a little lighter, and it's a little, maybe everybody just kind of goes through their greatest hits. And
Yeah.
I don't know if I know what it's actually like to be on tour in Japan.
And
Not
those
every
are
night, not Corkin.
those are like the house shows over there, right? Like and the people the fans that go to the house shows, they know that's what's up.
Exactly.
And they're fine with it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They know it's just like a concert, and okay, it's, you want to see if Queens, they're just going to play Bohemian Rhapsody tonight, but at least they're just going to play, at least it's Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
You want to see Taguchi do some ass stuff, Ishii do a big stalling suplex,
Yano.
Great things. Homa do the Kokeshi. It's easy. It's fun.
Hey, real quick, and this is about somebody else in New Japan. Any word on Takahashi?
It's the last I heard. He's not going to need surgery.
Oh, good.
Thank God.
That's
good. Positive.
Yeah, because I've talked about this in some tweets, and I've discussed it over the years. I broke my neck twice. The second time I had cervical fusion done, but the first time I did, I rehabbed it without surgery, and so people are assuming the worst, and it's okay to be concerned and worried about him, but the guy walked out of the ring on his own. I just think that we need to realize okay, it's not the broken neck, paralyzed, quadriplegic for life, broken neck stuff we're talking here. And I think a lot of people are getting that confused when they hear broken neck. You know?
No, exactly. Well, that's what, when you hear broken neck, people think that. But that's not every broken neck.
Right.
But yeah, hopefully his broken neck is just, time off. Even though that still sucks, but that beats the alternative. So
yeah.
Is there any talk?
It sounds bad to say, but I think it was kind of, after seeing it, this is probably the best case scenario, because that looked like it could have been the last bump he ever took.
Exactly. And so is there any talk, in New Japan about trying to tone down some of that type of thing, to where the risk just doesn't match up with the reward?
Right. No, there hasn't been. There really hasn't. It's every man, it's kind of up to you, how you.
Sure.
Zack Sabre Jr. doesn't wrestle like that. I know that. But
yeah.
I mean, my fair share of bumps on my upper shoulders, and it's your choice, and that's his style, and he's crazy, and I tell him all the time, he thinks he's not crazy, but those guys are crazy. Like Ospreay, him, Dragon Lee, they put their body.
That's okay.
I don't think that people really truly understand the craziness that they're seeing.
Yeah.
And they're made of rubber.
I think it's fine when we put our own bodies on the line, but man, that one was too much, man. When it's somebody else's body, God damn, we need to be a little bit more careful.
That move is has to be. I wouldn't even ever try that move. That has to be so perfect.
Yeah.
You have to execute that. There's no room for any bit of a mess up. And it looked like, to me, that thing was doomed from the start.
Exactly.
I hate to say, it looked like he was down by his belly button. How are you going to get him all the way over onto his shoulder? Oh man,
don't want to miss that. Don't want to miss out on that. Don't want to miss out on that reaction, though, Juice.
I know, and
right?
It's so hard to push them. Those guys push themselves so hard because they probably did about 15 German suplexes on their head before that. I'm not trying to patronize them.
Sure.
But and then they got to, exactly like you just said, then they have to top that.
Yep.
And then they've been having crazy matches for years.
Yeah.
And so they keep getting crazier. And oh man.
Hopefully, and you're right, man. I understand where you're coming from. Because, I mean, it is between the two guys that are going out there and having a match with each other. And, no one's going to do a move to you don't want them to do. No, I'm not doing it. And it's not going to be done. So, both guys are responsible for that. It's just, man, it was really disturbing watching that. But that's got nothing to do with you. I didn't mean to go off into the weeds there. So, yeah, man, I appreciate you I don't think you've done any podcasts or any interviews since you've won the championship, have you?
No, this is the first one.
And I'm very honored. I'm very honored by that, Juice. It means a lot to me. Can we see it? Can we see the belt? It's right behind you.
Oh yeah, it's right here.
For all the people that are watching.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Right,
How's it feel, man?
Dude, it's funny. It's so heavy.
Yeah.
God, it's like 30 pounds. And I figured I had to bring it home though to show my family and stuff, and my friends. So
And-
I brought it home once, but I might leave it in Japan after this.
And we'll wear it proudly, man. And don't let anyone like give you shit and call you Mark if you're proud of that thing, because I think we talked about this before we went on air. You know, that championship means a lot. It's not passed around like a hot potato back and forth between people to where you don't even know who the champion is from one day to the next. So that's a real championship when it comes to pro wrestling. And so, man, really happy that you're the U.S. champ, man. Be proud of that.
Dude, oh, thanks a lot, man. That's crazy. It's so crazy that that's coming out of your mouth. I used to watch you when I was a kid.
Hey,
Not to
man.
get all mushy. It's crazy how life is. Life
Yeah.
is just so.
Yeah. Hey, now that you mention that, is there anybody like that you grew up idolizing and watching that you got to be in the ring with? That you were just like, oh shit, I can't believe I'm in the ring with this guy.
Wow, there really hasn't yet.
I hope it happens for you because it's pretty badass, man.
Yeah, I mean, I did have a moment once where it was like Gold Dust and Cody were at
Yeah.
the Performance Center, and I had to, I don't know, I was rolling around with Gold Dust really quick, and I used to always be a big fan of him. He'd be like, he'd lock up, he'd grab you in a headlock, but before he was already off the ropes and hitting the other side before it's like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Right? He'd grab that lock, but hit the ropes right away. And he runs the ropes so damn fast, I used to think when I was little.
Well, because
And
he's got long legs and you don't have to take but 2 steps to be across the ring.
Yeah, and I did something with him where it was like some kind of high spot, just like for him to warm up. And I was like, oh, that was pretty cool. And I did take an arm drag from Ricky Steamboat once.
Oh, wow.
And that was badass.
Nice. I didn't mean to get sidetracked on that. I was just curious if you've had that kind of experience yet, because it's a really special experience. Like first time I was in the ring with Ric Flair and like first time I wrestled Hulk Hogan.
Wow.
I mean, especially Flair, since he grew like first time I ever went to a live wrestling match, it was Flair and Dusty. But anyways, Juice, again, one more time, congratulations, man. So happy for you. You deserve it as much as anyone in wrestling right now, man. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, brother. That's so awesome. Thank you.
Hey, real quick, anything you want to plug, like outside stuff that we haven't already talked about, social media? I know you don't have Twitter.
No, I don't. There's nothing I want to plug with New Japan World, but I'm sure everybody knows about it.
Oh yeah,
Everybody
and
should sign up for that for the G1, because the G1's about to start, and that's like hundreds of high quality wrestling matches. So everybody get your New Japan World. That's it.
Hey,
I don't care anything else.
And one last thing, it's probably the most important thing I can tell you, is, you know who Ron Funches is?
No.
I hope he's watching right now. Ron Funches is an amazing comedian, is a really good friend of mine, and he's actually pretty goddamn famous. And when I said I was going to have you on the show, like one of the first tweets I got was from Ron Funches saying, "Tell him I love him," and that's in Ron Funches' voice.
I think I might know him now. I think I know.
You don't have to lie. No, but go look him up. He's great.
Okay.
Before we
Yeah,
let
sounds
you go,
good.
Juice, I wanted to know, what was your dad's reaction to you winning this title?
Oh yeah, he thought it was awesome. I mean, I let him know before I went off to California, and I brought my brother with, but I lied to my brother and told him I was going to lose, and he was pretty emotional afterwards. I totally tricked him, but
So-
yeah, my dad was happy. We watched it the other night. He loves it.
Was
Huh?
it
How many times have you watched the match back?
I just watched it twice. I watched it once in English and once in Japanese.
Did you pick it apart? Did you already just rip it to shreds?
Yeah, I wish
Yeah.
I wouldn't have watched it.
Well, don't share any of that with the people. Keep that shit to yourself. Let everyone enjoy it, like for what they right out. You know what I mean? I made the
Yeah.
mistake about taking some great matches of mine and letting people know what I thought about them. And like I probably shouldn't, because now they're going, oh yeah, and they're looking at these little spots in the matches that I've had and seeing the flaws in them that they would have never saw before. So, anyways, didn't mean to start rambling about that. I'm
You know, you're your own worst critic.
for sure. So, Juice, again, congratulations, man, and grateful that you came on the show today, man, and spent some of your valuable time with us. Enjoy the rest of your day.
My pleasure, man. Thank you very much for having me.
IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion Juice Robinson, everyone.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much, my friend. Hope
Thanks,
to see you
guys.
soon.
Take care.
All right. That was fun. Thank you guys for helping me out on that.
Of course, great stuff.
Yeah. And really deserves it. One of the good guys. And I remember, like I said, I thought it was at Full Sail, but it might have been right after WrestleMania.
He got released.
I didn't
think,
hit that a lot.
He got released April 3rd or something, so it was probably Mania-ish.
Yeah, so I just remember the conversation I had with him and some of the things I told him and the things that he told me. And like I said, like the plan that he had in his brain, it seems like it worked out exactly, how he had it laid out.
Like I said, no ego and self-aware, and that's really important.
Yeah. Anything before we go?
Well, definitely check out Sean if you're going to be in Lowell, Massachusetts this weekend, Friday, July 13th, Chaotic Wrestling. You'll be in a tag match with JT Dunn against Killa Nova Inc. All your information is at chaoticwrestling.com. And Heavy on Wrestling, July 29th, you'll be down at the Fortune Bay Casino with Hall and Nash and
Bischoff and Bruce Pritchard and shit. I mean, there's a lot of people. There's a pretty big show up there at Fortune Bay.
Yeah, stay tuned to Sean's social media at The Real X-Pac for any more information on that. T-shirts at prowrestlingtees.com/Sean Waltman, and follow me on Twitter at Jimbo in the Booth.
Awesome. You guys can check me out on Twitter and on Instagram at _ Denise Salcedo. Come say hi. And then also make sure to check out my YouTube channel. You can just search me up, Denise Salcedo. I have a lot of super cool stuff that you guys are going to like coming soon without spoiling any surprises.
All right, I'm at Jay Quasto, Championship Wrestling from Hollywood. Our television tapings this Sunday. David Arquette makes his return to the ring.
And we'll see you right here next week on X-Pac 12360 right here on AfterBuzz TV, Westwood One, and the Jericho Network.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Mark B. Donica, Jimbo Frank, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow X-Pac on Twitter at TheRealXpac and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com.